Sweet Christmas. Luke Cage Season 2 recently dropped on Netflix, and like most Marvel Netflix series that enter into a second season, this was better than the first. It didn't have the lengthy introductions that we had to have, even though Luke was kind of, given a backdoor pilot, if you will, through Jessica Jones, the second season of which I actually reviewed here. But we still obviously had to, introduce Misty, etc. And therefore, there were kind of a few pacing issues even with the first season of Luke Cage. But that's all gone. Even though we've got new people in John McIver and the whole Jamaican subplot, we have much more of a fluid flow, really. It was much easier to go along. There's maybe 2 episodes worth of material, not directly from exactly 2 episodes, but perhaps 2 episodes worth of material that could be excised and not be an issue. And that's a good place to be. But I really enjoyed the fact that if you consider the first season, it's the fight for the soul of Harlem from very much inside sources. You have Mariah Dillard kind of trying to make it better by legitimate means, but being drawn into Cornell's crime and wheeling and dealing. And Luke Cage obviously trying to save it from a place of good. So that was very much the arc for the first season. And then, of course, we did have Willis, Diamondback, throwing a bit of a spanner into those works. But it was very much Harlem fighting Harlem. It was very much just Harlem rescuing itself. Here we have a different culture coming in, one that's relegated to a different part of the city, muscling in on that territory because of a beef from a while ago, some bad blood. And I found that a very interesting idea to take into a second season. We still have Mariah trying to control Harlem in her way, having taken over from Cornell. But the real threat is Bushmaster, John McIver, who seems to have this nightshade addiction that gives him very similar powers to Luke Cage. And it gave us a very different take. We think of African-American culture as a very specific thing, and that's something that perhaps Harlem is more representative of. But there are Jamaicans, there are probably actual Africans who are like first generation and things like that, who don't subscribe to the culture that we normally stereotype. I say we as white people. I try to avoid stereotypes at all costs, but we do all fall into that trap, I think. So it's nice to see a different kind of black culture butting against the one that we've seen last season and a lot of the time in the real world. And it handled it really well. I thought it did it very delicately. It made me very interested in Jamaican patois because there are some words that are really logical when you understand the meaning of them. You start to break them down, and just some that are just so weird, like picnic for children. I don't understand where that comes from, but it's now I hear it and I get it. I know little picnic dem means the little children, and I love this. Being linguistically minded, I love this fact that they were quite true to the Jamaican patois. But one of the big things of this season, aside from all of that, which was great on its own, was the fact that Hernan Shades Alvarez got a lot of character development. And I think we could kind of see in the tone shoot-up of Pops' place. He didn't look happy. But now we see there's a deeper undercurrent in him, where he does want to do the crime life, he does want to take control in his own way, but he's not a monster. His time on the inside with Comanche as well hinted at, the fact that we could have gone all Brokeback, as Mariah says herself, in a way. We could have had that. We could have had it, played up like, oh, once you're in prison, you go gay. The stereotype is there again, and they deftly avoid it. They sidestep it. They see it as a real relationship. And this is the undoing of Shades as Mariah's unquestioning right-hand man, wannabe romantic partner. That arrangement just no longer is feasible. He sees that she needs to be stopped. And Theo Rossi, hats off to the man. He gave us, last season he had a great range, but I think this season he's really shown even more of that range. The fact that he can smile even when he's talking about hard things is, to some it's like something like, oh, that's not great acting, why are you smiling if you're baring your heart? But this is part of Shades' character. He's always got to keep the veneer. Again, possibly learned in prison, maybe before. He's got to keep that veneer up so that no one sees his weakness. And I think, as I say, Theo Rossi does a great job. Also, we have Tilda Johnson, who will later become Nightshade. We even see her with the Afro puffs at the end, sort of as Mariah's daughter. Great introduction to her, I think, setting up a third season of Luke Cage. But the ending does that too. We have the death of Mariah, finally. I did think it was going to happen at least another couple of times during the season, if not by the fire, someone shooting her or something. But no, she survived to the end and bequeathed Luke, much to Tilda's chagrin, the whole of Harlem's paradise. Her logic is quite sound. Distract him too much that he can't intervene, or even, best case scenario, turn him to the fact that maybe he does need to get his hands dirty if he wants to run Harlem and keep it under control. The temptation of Luke Cage, if you will, which is a great idea for a title for next season, if they want to go that route. But Luke has obviously grown and changed very much as a person throughout the season. He's put a lot of his demons to bed. The fact that he tells Claire to go home, he doesn't want her involved in this. His own wants now a second place to what he feels is the best thing for Harlem. But like I say, this season was absolutely fantastic. There were a few moments that I was a bit quizzical at, shall we say, but for the most part it was great. It was fun. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed how they've taken it in a different direction. I can't wait to see next time. So I want to end in the same way that the series did, and that's with a tribute to Reg E. Cathey. He played Luke's dad on the series, and they ended with a great quote and a still of him. And it's such a sad thing. He's one of those people who I didn't necessarily know the name of, but I've seen him in so many things. And he has this great ability, like all great actors, to be raw and emotional when he needs to be. He can really bring it, and then calm when he needs that too. He's got such a good range, and he's such a compelling person to watch with such a great deep voice as well. It's the whole package, and it's really sad that he didn't get to see the series. He passed before it was out. But I do hope that his family got to see it as a sort of final tribute to him. It was his last starring role. And like the series, this video is a tribute to Reg, because the boy did good. So I do hope you'll join me next time. We're putting off the big project. It's becoming my room again, I think. But I do want to touch on another kind of family matter. But this one's a lot darker. So I do hope you'll join me next week. But until then, as always, take care.